Hi, this is Paul from the Tamiya channel regarding my build on the Tamiya Sturmtiger kit number 32591 in 1/48 scale. It's now completed. I just had the final touches to this just a few minutes ago, and I'll explain that later on. One thing I've noticed is the shovels look a bit stark. I did the old Linden way, painting them black and then going around with a pencil, but I may go in there and make that a more of a metally colour. That would be the only alteration that would be made to this vehicle, because I'm really happy with everything else. I've actually placed an aerial up above edge, which you would have used during the conflict, obviously, but whenever they use the crane in use, the area will be dismantled and taken down so they can swing the crane right across the vehicle, so they actually can drop the shells into the double hatches on the top of the roof, which you can see just there. I have added the clear perspex to the front of the vehicle using micro crystal clear, similar to what Swidger did on his Corvette, which I'm going to be doing the same, and that worked really well, and you'll get to see that in a minute. The jib, the actual crane itself, I added a few extra details that I've mentioned in the last one. The actual cable going up and the loop round. I've weathered it a little bit as well, so it gives it a bit of worn look. And I think it looks the part. I mean, obviously it looks a little bit better than what it was straight from the kit, because it didn't have any wench. It didn't have the actual cable or the actual this area here, where the hoist bit, but actually the little loop that the actual shell was carried up to put into the vehicle. I've actually used a lot of oils on this, and I'm going to mention the oils first. The oils I've actually used was from the 5.0 sets. There's 3 sets. One was the mapping torque and technique for lights and shadows, the rust and red colour set, and also the vehicle weathering and effect set, all from 502. But I'm just going to mention the 4 colours I mainly used on the vehicle. The main one was this one, which is a yellow, called Light Sand, it's actually called, and it worked really well. All I did was dot it all over the side and then used a brush to draw the strokes down and basically smoothed it in, so it actually did soften up all the colours between the vehicles. And this wasn't my idea, this was Switchers was trying to get me to do it on one of my last vehicles, and I decided to give it a bash, and I've got to be honest, I was really pleased what I did it this time. I actually did weathered this a little bit more than I normally would do. Again, because this vehicle was only 18 built and it wasn't used for long periods of time, I've actually kept it as pristine as I could. I am building a 35th scale of this at some point in the future, the AF Club one, AFV Club one in 1/36 scale, which I've got the interior for as well. I've also got the Zimmer it for that to put on it as well as I've got some shells that were designed for the Tamiya one. They're in white aluminium, bought a hell of a long time ago when I did have the Tamiya kit. But those shells should fit nicely into the vehicle as well and give it more or less a full load near enough. Anyway, so go back to this vehicle. So this was used to actually blend all the colours in, the light sand, and following that I went over with the next colour, which is a dusty colour, and I just randomly put that in different places and pulled it down. I also used, which is unusual, which is Snow White, not to give it the snow effect, which would be really good for this effect, any vehicle. But what I use, any little bit of dusty bit you can see, it's actually, because it's so fine coming down, you can actually see the shape, the actual runs down the side of the vehicle. But they were actually made from white, dragging it and virtually disappearing, making it disappear. And I did that all round the vehicle, on the front as well, and around the sides and on the back. And I'm really pleased with the subtle technique, subtle look it gives it. And it does look a little bit better in real life than what it does in actual the video. Right, so I'll come around. Also down on the bottom, the wheels. I've actually muddied up the wheels and around the front of the vehicle, a bit on the mud guards and definitely at the back and the mud flaps. And underneath the vehicle, just down the sides where the running wheels were. So if you looked under, you could see a crust of mud going across, but nothing major. I didn't feel the whole centre of the underneath of the vehicle, because to be honest, you won't be able to sit unless you lift it and turn it over. And I don't know about you, but I can't lift nearly 56 tonnes and turn it over. Joking, that's a joke really. As you know, it's only a plastic one. Right, so what I did on this, I actually used the bit more of 502, and I actually used the like a very foul mud colour, which is in one of my packs. I can't I won't get it out now because I should have got it out earlier, but it's another one of the 502 range, and actually thinly laid the oil's colour all over the actual axle areas, and then I went in with some pigments, and I went in with some dark earth, which was from AV Club. I've got a lot of Vallejo, which gives you more, but these are not too bad. And then also, and then with the dust one, which is nice. I didn't even get that one out. That's in my box, but there's another AK pigment, and it's the dust one, European dust. And what I did is just put that on and mixed it, and then let it start to dry. And I also used the AFK's pigment fixer over the top of that as well. So basically it took a long time to dry, but the actual oils underneath started to dry, and then the actual pigments along with the fixer started to dry, and I'm left with this muddy look on the wheels, but they actually still look, you can still see the detail on them, and I'm really pleased with that, the way they come out as well. The tracks weren't rusted in any way, shape or form. I left the dark grey colour that I had when you last saw it. I actually had a dark colour, and what I did then is I went in with this the dust effect, which is this one, the dust from Vallejo, and run it in there, and then put a bit of dust pigment in there as well, and basically let it dry, and then just dry brush with a metal colour, and also, yeah, I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, you can. In the actual tracks along here, it's all in every crevice, so it actually shows it. It shows definition of the track, which is what I was after. If I do another one, if I ever did another one, I might go rusty, but I was quite pleased with the fact it looked more metally on this particular model. That's it, going around here, all the way over, and I don't know if you're going to see that better now. So I'll come around. I think you see that. I'll just go to the front. You can see the weathering on this front again, coming down from the top and peel around, and you may just be able to see a bit of shine inside where there, and that's the actual crystal clear for the two boxes that I drilled. I actually drilled the lenses out and then put the crystal clear in here right at the end after I finished painting the model, and I think that came out quite nice as well. Also, the gas release holes around the actual muzzle brake area, that's where the rocket, because it's basically a motor, but it's a rocket propelled in some ways. And this would allow the gases to escape from when on the recoil and come out through the front. So I drilled those out really further, a good, what must be 1/8 of an inch or so. We'd give it to depth, so when I paint it around there, I can actually drop some black in there, and it really brightens it up. But you can definitely see they're all old. Also, I think I explained how I did the barrel inside with the metal. I sprayed this bit when it was not attached, and sprayed from the back, and that gave me the perfect circle at this end, which is a really nice tip for anyone who's doing this in the future. I think you can see the mud down the side front. There's also covers down underneath, just to give it a little bit where it's on there, and some of it's knocking off a little bit more around the front, whereas on the wheels it's still encrusted on there, so that was okay. Moving on round, you might be able to see the periscope now that's in here. This is the last thing I've just done, and basically it was just, whoops, I'm sorry, knocked in my leg. The camera I should say, and what it is was just a clear bit of thick plastic, actually cut to size the slot up and then I glued that to a flat plate so I could glue it up underneath, and then I actually, before I put it in there, I actually painted it all up and left a little clear bit of glass clear. And what I should have done is, the only silly thing I didn't do was painted the outside, the bits I wanted to be painted silver first, then go with the black, and so you can't see it, but when you actually hit the light on it, you can see the reflection of the lens. So I'm going to stay with it because that's what I've done, but it's a thing to remember next time. Always, if you're going to make a periscope, even out of clear material, always paint the bits you want painted silver first, and then paint the darker colour over the top of that, so you can see a bit of shine through there from silver. But I'm still happy with it because there's something there now which there wasn't in the kit. Moving on round. Come to this side now. Let's leave it like that. As you can see now, the crane is actually there, and one thing I did do is I cut the handle off of the crane and moved it so it was above the body, because the way I see it, this actual winch must have been on a ratchet, because let's face it, if you was one or two people were wrenching it up, if you stopped wrenching it, if you let go of it, it would drop to the ground again, and not very good with a large shell. So I'm presuming, and this was a presumption on my part, is that handle would actually be latched. So I've actually pulled it up to that position so it's latched, so I can actually swing it further around inboard of the vehicle like it is. And you can see the aerial's still there. It's about a 2 metre aerial, but it looks the part on this vehicle. Coming around a bit further, you can see the mud on this side as well. It's slightly different to the other side, which is good, but you can see where the mud is at all the way along there as well, and you can see the definition of the dust inside the actual on the tracks itself. Coming further back round the back, and I'm going to stop about there. Now you can see the roll of wire there. Now I've seen in books and magazines where it's hanging on the side, and it's a famous photograph in one of the Armour in Action books where it talks about the Sturmtiger and the hunting tiger, and it's actually on the side. But I decided to put mine on the back. It fitted on the side nicely as well, but I decided to put it on the back because it makes it look a bit busy around the back. So I put it on there, and I think you can actually see now the handles on the back, which are actually separate brass wire. One's just lock on the roof hatches. That was all done as well. It really does add a little bit more finesse to the vehicle, and it's a shame Tamiya didn't put them on there separate anyway, but at the end of the day it looks quite nice. Also, right, what did I do in the engine area? I wanted to have a bit of muck and mess around this area, because the way I look at it is the fuel here during the World War II towards the end for the Germans was getting a bit hit and miss in some cases. In other words, it wasn't as pure as it was when the war first started, and they was knocking it out as fast as they could in between bombing raids. So what I'm saying is there's a lot of fuel, and I've seen vehicles with a bit of black around the exhaust. So what I did, I used some engine oil areas around that helps. AK's engine oil around that area, a little bit around that area, and then I also went in before it dried, nipped in there with some smoke pigment, and then it dried. Now I didn't want it all to be shiny, so because on top of here it was shiny, and on top of that the exhaust shields at the top were shiny, and also the fuel cap area was shiny. So what I decided, I got a bit of Vallejo's matte varnish, shook it up really well, and brush painted it just loosely around this area, and it adds a little bit of definition between the shiny bits and the actual matte bits, and it really looks the part. I'm quite happy with that, because it looks as if it's been walked on afterwards, and it's got working its way back into the paint. Right, and that's it on that bit. Bit more to the back. You can see the jack block there, because this is a new jack block. I used it in sort of a newish wood colour, and it fits a bit well. I've got a few shades in there, you can't see too much, but there is a bit of shade in there, so I did that. Also, I think you can see the mud on the rear fender. Also, you can actually see now that it's got the actual towing hook bit bar that goes into the towing hook at the front, that actually connects to a cable to the towing vehicle. You can see that's painted in the body of the cut tank, because it was never used. It's been sprayed in situ, and it stayed like that. So going around a bit further, and back, the jack's on the back, and you can see I put a few little chips on that, just a little bit to say it's been used a little bit, and a bit of oil again running around all the crevices to give it a bit of definition. And there you go. Coming back to this side, and as you can see, I just moved this. You can see the crane still moves in bits and pieces. I keep it over the vehicles, I think it won't get knocked off so much. And we're nearly back to the other bit, and so there you go. If I bring it down there, so really that's the end of this this build now. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll be carrying on now with my Yak Panther in 1/35 scale from Dragon, which is coming along nicely, and nowhere near the painting stage yet, but it's getting there. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.